Welcome back to Bear Down, part of the Coach Steve Show. We're here to discuss the Bears versus the Patriots coming up this Sunday. I don't know if we're happy about it, sad about it, a little nervous about it. Who knows? That means Zach's here. We're going to discuss what we think will happen Sunday, what needs to happen Sunday. But the Bears are literally limping into this game from injuries, from getting their ass kicked against Arizona. And Bears Twitter and podcast are blowing up, and it's not looking too good. And then right after the Patriots, they get their bloodbath NFC North schedule mixed in with a little bit of 49ers and Seahawks mixed in there. And they are in a weird position right now. Zach, how do we still feel from that ass kicking? I think it's still dwelling on the Hail Mary, still dwelling, and the ass kicking still dwelling.
Well, I hope this is the last week we talk about the Hail Mary, because I'm about done with it now. And I'm back on the side of move on from even like some of the drama from that game. Like today, coming on before the show, some of the media in Chicago has been asking if Tyreek Stevenson's going to get his starting position back this week. And while it sounds like and it's implied he most likely will, I just find that crazy that we're double checking that, and making it almost sound like, well, maybe will he? Does he not get that back? Like, yeah, it's fine. It was a one-off week thing, okay, but now we need to gotta move on. And New England, you hope is that case, but I think the greatest storyline, Steve, is the injuries are very prominent for what's coming up this week. Very thin offensive line, especially tackles will be thin, the thinnest you can get on the season.
Yes. Some of the problems for the Bears have been up front with the O-line, and it doesn't help now when you're going into the game having three of them being hurt.
Yeah.
Kyron Amadunje, I always say his name wrong, is out. Braxton Jones is now out. And Darnell Wright, our other draft pick from 2 years ago, is out. And then D-line wise, Andrew Billings is out. So the two big things that people like to blame, the O-line, like to be blamed a lot. And then Arizona really exposed the Bears in the run game. And we are struggling with that aspect up in the interior. So now being out one of those defensive tackles is not going to bode well for the Bears. And what sucks about all these old linemen being out is just the cohesiveness of playing spots. Like you saw Kevin Jenkins, or not Kevin, is it Jenkins? I don't know why I said Kevin. Is that his name?
He meant Tevin. You were so close.
Why, my brain is a little mushy. Jenkins, we saw he keeps playing different spots. They keep rotating guys. And even though they might be comfortable with it, it is tough when a defense starts to stun and do different things, and you might be used to being the guard in that situation because it's played a little different. You might be used to being on the right side because it's a little different. The footwork's a little different. It's a big deal. And so it kind of sucks to have that. Then, of course, we keep talking about the D-line. I think our edge rushers are fine. It's just the interior. They can run right up the middle. So the only positive about these injuries is that you're playing the Patriots. You're not playing the Vikings. You're not playing the Lions. You are playing the Patriots, who are 2-7, who are struggling themselves, and they're trying to find themselves of who they are. Brand new head coach, never been a head coach before. Little turmoil there. He's called his team out saying they're soft, and sometimes you don't want to do that publicly to call your team soft. So it's curious to see how that goes, but. And I'm also curious about Caleb Williams because looks like his hamstrings were bothering him during the last game.
Mm-hmm.
Running a lot more, taking a lot more hits. He was throwing the ball a lot more. He's not on here right now, but I'm sure he's a little banged up as well. And then Juwan Britzker is still out from his concussion, which is concerning because concussions are around the 2-week mark, and this has been since before London.
4 weeks is that to me screams significant concussion, which is kind of wild because it seemed like the way they treated it didn't seem like it was very major nature.
No, they were just more precautionary when he didn't go to London. It was, hey, stay back. Just we'll try to win the game without you. You rest up and
Mm-hmm.
all that stuff. And he's continued to stay out. So I don't know if it's a super bad concussion. Did it have something to do with his neck? But you think they would come back and say neck injury? You think that's kind of what they would say? So, I put the title of this episode a must win for the Bears, and I still think it is a must win just because of how the last 2 weeks have gone. If the Bears went 1-1 in the last 2 games or went 2-0, this wouldn't be a must win because they'd be putting themselves in a better situation. But when we struggled to stop the run, Juwan Britzker, your best tackler, is out. You're out of defensive tackle. The defense is a little, has to regroup now because it gave up 29 points, and they're not used to giving up that many points. And kind of curious how they're going to bounce back. But man, it's a must win, in my opinion, for the Bears.
Again, a lot of the conversation outside of this matchup is going to be the future after this week, which will be all the divisional games and then the Seattle and the San Francisco matchups later in the year. So it's almost like you're saying to yourself, we have to win now. Otherwise, every win is more crucial. Every win gets tougher from here. New England is a winnable opponent on paper. So that's where you kind of go to. That's why you're asking yourself, about how crucial this one is, and it's kind of up there. If anything, a momentum reset is desperately needed in your home venue in Chicago. Is what this needs to be looked at.
Mm-hmm.
You have teammates like Montez Sweat saying that they still view themselves as a playoff teams like that. Well, great. Well, one thing that might help is you may want, again, winnable game, but this one I think is a little bit more important than it should be, just because you don't want to set a tone for this stretch of the year in the wrong way.
No.
You can't leave out of this with a loss or having Chicago, and especially now the way they lost to Washington and then got embarrassed by Arizona. Now you got the national media hounding you, and credit, it's mostly Caleb Williams conversation because he's the rookie, but there's more than that. Like, you go on the sports shows on ESPN, FS1, they're talking coaching. They're talking how this team's structured. Dan Orlovsky's calling out Shane Waldron's pass concepts as well. Like, they're back in the media spotlight for all the wrong reasons the last 2 weeks. And one of the easiest fixes to get out of that and get back where it's focused internally in that building and focused on you more so, less noise, is you got to have a good performance against a team like this that's winnable. That being said, vibes don't feel great right now. Injuries are not stacked in the favor. And while a fantastic pass defense Chicago does indeed have, a lot of praise from Drake May the last few weeks, and they can't stop the run right now.
No, the Patriots defense right now is tied for 25th. They're 26 in the rush, 22 in the pass, and 21 in scoring. So this isn't a, overwhelmingly defense they're about to see.
It's almost like a setup from last week. We heard the same story.
Yep. There's similar rankings from Arizona's defense. The Patriots offense is 32 overall, so they're dead last. They're 24 in rush, 32 dead last in passing, and they're number 30 in scoring. The Bears defense is still ranked number 12, 20 in the rush, number 8 in pass defense, and scoring they're tied for 5th. Bears offense, they're number 28, so they're not much better. Not much better. 23 in the run, 1 ranking better than the Patriots. They're 29 in pass. Scoring, they're number 19, so they're a little bit better in scoring. Those came during that win stretch where we were getting some explosive plays.
Yes.
But the reason why it's a must win is two reasons. One, we've already said, obviously, is you're favored by 6.5 points, and you need to get back on track. If you can get back on track before this bloodbath, because you don't want to look ahead and overlook the Patriots, but you kind of have to and just kind of say, if we don't play well, or as fans, if they don't play well, what makes us think they're going to play well against much better competition? The second reason is you are favored. Like, this is like what you're supposed to do. New England is 1-4 on the road. The Bears are 4-0 at home. So that gives good idea, like a good feeling there.
They're protecting the house. That's good. That's what you want to have.
They're protecting that, but this is a trap game. I don't think the Patriots are very good at all.
No.
So even though the Bears have been playing bad, you still feel okay about this game. But we kind of said that about the Cardinals. Cardinals are better than the Patriots, but the Bears, they were supposed to go in there and win by 7 points or something, like a close game, but they were supposed to go do what they were supposed to do. And the big thing is the locker room stuff. Like, are the players now starting to get pissed off at Matt Eberflus? And we talked about that. Not much has been said about that. At least I've seen as this week. This week's kind of been overshadowed by the election. Like, that's been mainly the media, sports media. That's all they're talking about. And
does take some of the interest off of you a little bit, because there could be a lot. There have been, I've seen quotes about, Caleb Williams being questioned about his chemistry with DJ Moore. DJ Moore getting questioned finally about the out of bounds play that was revealed, and the excuse that while maybe valid, I also put a very big suspect on for how it was placed. Just personal opinion, but I'm going to go with the athlete first. Usually that something did happen, but didn't really see anything on the injury report mentioning any ankle. So,
well, I will say this: I failed at getting the film up on my huddle because for some reason it wasn't loading on the thing the way I needed it to. But I had found that play, and you do see him kind of limp off, like immediately gets to the sideline. He's kind of sort of limping, and he goes to sit on the bench, right? But the problem with that is the very next play, he is on the field at slot receiver and runs a vertical route. So at first, when I looked at it on film, he was kind of getting that little hitch limp. You know what I mean? And he went straight to the bench. So the problems are here is if it bothered him and he just had to stand there now if it really bothered him, he just stood there and shook it out, I don't think anybody would say anything. They'd be like, look, he's shaking his ankle out, like something's, but it's because it's the very next play he's back out there. Like the very next, if he wasn't out there the very next play and you saw him limping off, okay, you got something happen, you twisted it, whatever, you're in there taped real quick, cool. But it's that fact that the very next play, you're back out there. So I know you're frustrated. I saw the numbers. He has similar catches for this year, but his yards are down by like 300 and some. So now the comparisons are coming back up of who's better, Justin Fields for this team, or is Caleb Williams the better? Like, all that's starting to resurface.
Well, I mean, one feather that is going in that cap, if we're going to really dive into it, is the Caleb Williams is was incatchable passes. Is that the stat that's going around right now? The big gotcha moment that everyone's talking about. Even on ESPN, it's the same thing. He's leading the league in like uncatchable footballs at the moment. Right.
I'm going to read the quote here because I haven't seen I haven't seen it because obviously everything's been overshadowed by the election. Said, tweaked the ankle. I was coming back towards the quarterback because I saw Caleb scrambling. My ankle went in and out. I already couldn't stop, so my momentum took me out of bounds, and I just walked off. Then it was said, Moore is aware that people were not happy. He said, the noise, I hear it, seen it, but don't care. It is what it is. Then he was asked if he understood why fans might be frustrated. And he said, I mean, they can take it how they want to, which they did without even knowing what happened mid-play. Matt Eberflus said, that's what Coach Matt Eberflus also mentioned the ankle when he was asked about why Moore left the field. He said, that's what I saw, and that's what it was. So I don't like the aggressive. Like I'd have to obviously by text you can't. But by me reading this text, seems like he's a little frustrated with that question.
It's kind of a testy time right now.
It's a testy
Again,
time. But DJ Moore, like the problem I have is the momentum took you out of bounds. You stopped right before out of bounds. I did see him limp a little bit and went to the bench, but then it's like you came right back on the field. So, and then you had brought up a good point last time, and it was, did he think he just stepped out of bounds? You watch the play; he wasn't even close to stepping out of bounds. So, like, you got to. I'm not questioning his toughness. He's played through injuries and stuff like that. And maybe it was one of those where as soon as he sat down, he felt better and just ran back on the field.
and again, this is a different. Like if this was like a random thing, I think people would be more shocked, or I think people would be a little more up about it. But it's kind of been building this a bit more. Well, people are up about it, but like it's been kind of building this. I mean, you can't all talk about reactions on the sideline, but he has been the one that some people, not a lot, but some folks have seen that he has had a few of those moments where he's like, oh God, here we go again.
Mm-hmm.
Like that kind of look on the sideline. What did I get into? Remember, he also made the comments on, I wouldn't be getting rid of DJ Moore or sorry, wouldn't be getting rid of Justin Fields. Fields is my guy, So that drama gets brought up when you have a new quarterback come in. Man was just paid well over $100 million this past offseason, to be the guy, and credit, he's in a crowded receiver room with a rookie quarterback, but, not making the numbers he is last year and not getting as accurate of a football as last year right now. So a lot of pressure's on him, and he's getting under the microscope right now because it feels like people use him as the barometer to gauge, like, should Justin, like, do receivers feel like Justin Fields should have been here, or something like that?
Right.
Because he's the one common denominator between the two, was that link last season.
Right. I saw an interesting stat as well. I know the Bears are not on the road. The last time the Bears won a road game on a Sunday was December 26, 2021.
Ooh.
I did not realize that till after the game. They were tweeting it like, hey, we haven't won on the road on a Sunday, for years.
This stinks.
And I'm like, oh. And that's when the last time they won, Nick Foles was playing quarterback that game. That should tell you something. Like, and we had to beat the Seahawks.
Oh God. Yeah.
On the road, and it was snowing.
Yeah, that's right.
And we had to win with a minute left in the fourth quarter. So anyway, but I'm trying to get my Twitter algorithm back. So I stepped in Chicago Bears, and I'm just going through.
You just do it. You're doing everything you can right now. You're fighting the good fight of fixing your feed.
Because I don't mind some political things because I find it hilarious, but I don't need to see it every 5 tweets like political sports.
Everybody needs a break. Everybody's got to get a break.
Now I'm going to type in Illinois because I'm tired of it. Oh, I shouldn't do that. It brings up Illinois politics.
I'm going to type in green. Nah, I'm not going to do that.
No.
You can't do that.
Illinois sports. There we go. Let's do that because when I type in Illinois, it's all political Illinois shit. Nope.
Oh, strike out there too.
Oh, it hurts your brain to just continually watch this. I'm gonna like tweets from September to get this out.
Man.
But anyway, back to the Bears.
Yeah, let's see some stuff. So I'm gonna look at the last few matchups. The Jets they've been kind of like off my radar. They're what they are this year. They're not expected to do much. So, I haven't been. The only thing that got on my radar was because Drake May has had some decent praise for recent performances. I I know his first outing was kind of rough, threw a few picks. Didn't really get much action against the Jets. Brissett helped save the day to help clinch that one.
He threw for 206 yards last week. I know it was against the Titans, I believe.
Oh, yeah, no. I mean, he got praised for bringing the Titans back to a tie. They just couldn't finish the deal. Lost to Mason Rudolph and company. And Tony Pollard, who had a field day, 128 yards on 4.6 carries a clip.
Yeah. I don't like
They
the
also
preview
threw 2
matchup.
interceptions in that game, so that's also part of the reason why they got so behind. But one thing I've noticed, Drake May likes to scramble.
He does like to scramble.
95 yards last week. 2 weeks ago, he ran for 46 yards before he got knocked out against New York.
The big key matchup they have is Williams versus Drake May, which is kind of weird because they don't go against each other. Like
quarterbacks are the sexy national show competition.
I suppose, but see, I was going to come in and say the pressure is going to be on the O-line because they're so banged up and they're going to have to play well because they kind of reverted back to what hurt us in some losses was wide splitzes from the D line. They were delayed blitz, or they were delay stunting, which they took advantage of. Seeing, I don't know if this is why they did it, but it just looked like they took advantage of guys being in different spots, and so they thought, okay, let's try this. Caleb Williams, over his last stretch here, he's only completed 49%. He's passed a lot in the last 2 games, 65 passes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we all are in agreement that if Caleb Williams has to throw it more than 30 times in a game, we're in a bad spot. But with a banged up, with a makeshift O-line, I'm curious how the run game will go. Now the Patriots aren't very good at stopping the run, so hopefully they kind of lean into it. And I personally think that's the best thing to do when you're an O-line and they're all like that. Is you're going to have to come in with a simpler run schemes here and just get them confident saying we're going to run the ball. You got to push people. You got to hit people. When we need to pass it, just block for 3 seconds. It's got to be more quick game stuff, which I know doesn't please DJ Moore because I wish I had the film because as I was trying to do it, Caleb missed a lot of guys that were wide open. There was a play where he threw it to the corner route on DJ Moore. DJ Moore had 2 guys on him. It got thrown out of bounds. Right in front of him, where he was looking, he stared that way for 2 seconds. I think was Cole Kmet just standing there from like a hitch.
Yeah, there was a few of those where it was a quick like out route or two.
Well, they all followed DJ Moore. Like the linebacker flew back with DJ Moore, the safety went back with DJ Moore, and Cole Kmet was just sitting there like he literally was like this, and Caleb Williams just threw it there. And you saw the body language from DJ Moore, like it went out of bounds, it wasn't even close.
Well, and that's another example of an uncatchable ball. It goes right in that stat bin. And I thought so. I had been wanting to see something on how, and why this keeps happening, or like maybe what's the reason we keep seeing like these plays or similar overthrows or connections missed like this. Again, not to reference Dan Orlovsky too much more, but like. I thought Dan did a great job breaking down not only some of the flaws in the pass concepts, but also one of the parts of Caleb's game that I think that's going to be something that it needs to be kind of drilled out of him sooner rather than later is looking for the bomb downfield more often than not. I know that those opportunities can be available, but I think a lot of time, I agree with the reason I'm saying this is I agree with Dan's assessment is I think he is looking for that a lot more, and he has had, and look, what's crazy is in the games that we had, just maybe 3 weeks ago, we were seeing those, like, I'll take what the defense gives me. I'll, open up the short routes and then I'll pop for a long route if I can get it, or something like that. And I just don't, again, this goes back to the bye week. I don't know how you regress like this in such a short duration, unless it's just defenses are catching up and they're just going, okay, well, obvious flaws, take advantage of obvious flaws, make the quarterback and the OC try and figure out what the problem is, or we'll just keep nailing on obvious flaws.
That's probably the biggest frustration is the effort for the last game. The effort wasn't there. And you're supposed to come out almost better after a bye week because
you should.
You're supposed to be rested, especially if you're hot. If you're like, if the bye week happened last week after losing 2 games and now we're coming back, you have a little different mindset. But you're hot, you're on fire. You don't really need to change much. You just need to fine tune some things during that bye week or those 2 weeks of practice. Have some time to rest. Get your number 2 guys some reps. That way they're ready to go. Just kind of like what colleges do during the bye week. For like 2 days, they get their number 2s a lot of reps.
Yep.
And I'm okay with being rusty out of the gate, which they were against Washington. But then, we don't need to talk about that anymore. But then, like, okay, you had the rust game out of the bye week. Washington is a good team. Arizona's a good team. Now let's get back on track. And the Bears had the ball for a long time against Arizona. But it was when the defense took such a step backwards. I think that was the most shocking part. Like, we're all kind of used to the offense kind of being like that. But with the defense taking a step backwards, like giving up that touchdown run right before the half, that kind of sealed it right there. Like right then and there was kind of like done. I don't know why they were in that type of defense. I don't know what they were doing. And just giving up the big runs after big runs, allowing a tight end to make a couple big catches on you. And that's where you kind of miss Stevenson being full brained in. That's where you miss Brinsker kind of being there to be that guy. You miss that. And that's why I'm curious about the locker room. That's why this game is so important, because if we come out flat, if the offense goes 2 straight drives of like not scoring or getting a field goal, you might start hearing boos out of the stadium. They might start to freak out.
Well, first half they look ugly, and I mean the first quarter they have only scored 1 touchdown all year in the first quarter, 10 points overall. That was according to Kevin Fishbane last week after the Cardinals loss. It's not going to be pretty. I mean, if they can't get anything going against New England, that's not going to resonate very well right now for a head coach that is currently back on the hot seat radar more than he has since maybe mid last year. And
is Shane Waldron on the same hot seat?
Well, I mean, you're not wrong either. At least they're asking. We're already at the point where it's like, should he be calling plays? Is he the problem? And this is after a whole offseason of saying QB whisperer or QB developer.
Well, again, winning hides a lot of things, but when we were winning, a lot of praise for him. Like, he's figured it out. Like, Washington, kind of, you saw some of the things that were working, and we kind of reverted back to what wasn't working. And then Arizona, just nothing was really working. The Bears had some decent plays, like Odunze. Were you watching it when I was trying to put the film together? You saw the big catches he made, which was good. There was a couple decent hard runs, but when they were hard runs, they were gap scheme. And then the ones that weren't were the zone, which if you're moving guys around, I understand the blocking schemes and the blocking rules are the same, but now you're asking guys, if you're on the right side, to do it this way. Now you're on the left side, you got to switch up the technique. It takes a little bit to get going. So in my opinion, you stick with the gap scheme when you're moving people around, because it's usually gap down backer or kicking them out or like whatever. It's pretty easy.
Right.
When it's zone, you're double and chipping, someone shows up to your zone and then you kind of wonder, do I get the backer? Like this type of thing. And they're NFL players. They should be able to do it. But if it's not, you have to treat, like, they're still players. Like, I know they're adults and they're getting paid to do this, but you as an adult coach need to go, okay, this isn't working. I got to make sure these guys are put in a good spot. I'm going through it right now in the offseason for our line next year. Like, I've already told the coach, like, maybe we need to get away from zone and do this. And I'm a zone guy. Like, I'm going through similar things, but that's kind of what you need to do. Like, if it's not sinking in, then stop doing it. And that's what they need to do.
Never ending curse. You feel like no matter where we go, OC changes out, and it's my way or the highway type of atmosphere. There's no adaptation, or at least it seemed like we were. Like, again, we're talking like fool's gold, like 2 weeks or stretch where it felt like we had some fixes in, and it amazingly has not been that way. So again, the bye week. I don't know what happened over 7 days, but
that's
a
lot of people have
said 14 because you're going to count that you're 2 weeks practice essentially. But like, I don't know. I just don't get that.
Everybody has said that. That's kind of been the key thing here is bye week happens and we go back to what we were week 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're immediately back to what we were that time. And I don't know why we've gone back to that time.
Yeah. While we're on the theme, I'll tell you what is going to be, I think, very evident that that is a problem, and if we're going to be talking about coaches in particular. So, thinking back to Arizona last week, and I don't know why we didn't bring this up even more. We talked about some of the choices defensively and just kind of weaknesses with this roster, but I didn't give enough praise to Gannon and Cliff Kingsbury for being adaptive and doing good coaching things, like saying, "Oh, weakness, hit the weakness that we're finding." Maybe this wasn't our game plan. We can run, and we're going to choose to run. Even though we want Kyler to air it out, and we want to get to Marvin Harrison Jr. and company, or Greg Dortch out in the secondary, and such, or Trey McBride. We got a run game. We're going to hammer that instead. That was good coaching. I haven't seen that post-bye of good coaching. And again, New England I feel like that's a perfect litmus test of how screwed you are as a head coach right now. If you go into this and you somehow were to get out coached by New England, who is, again, trying to find its own way, hitting the reset button. And as you brought up, Gerard Mayo's already gotten dinged this year for what I would not consider a very good head coaching PR mistake.
But what also scares me is they have 2 running backs, Stevenson 438 yards this year, and Gibson with 236.
Mm-hmm.
And they've ran the ball 225 times.
Yeah.
So they're only getting 111 yards on the ground. So that's a positive. But this is a team with a young quarterback that's going to run the football. And if they too start to get confident running the football, if the Bears show that they cannot stop the run, and this is going to be a test for Mayo, like, hey, do I make this coaching like, hey, we're running the ball pretty well, just run. Drake May, 209 yards running as well. So he does scooch a little bit.
He does like to scramble. So contain's going to be massive this week. If you're wanting to force him into being a rookie, into being really into his rookie passing mechanics right now. Again, he willed New England to a tie last week against Tennessee, which the Titans are basically in the same boat right now as the Patriots. Mm-hmm. They're basically hitting a reset button, trying to figure out if they have their guy in Will Levis, who's coming back this week. They didn't even have him last week. They had Mason Rudolph, who's now has stepped into the journeyman career mode of his quarterbacking journey. So, they're in the same boat. Like that's the same type of quality opponent right there, is bottom barrel, not a threat this season type of team.
Mm-hmm.
That's the type of team Chicago should dismantle. Credit, though, week 1 of this year, and again, week 1 gets some asterisks. Tennessee was basically 1 second half meltdown away from walking away from a win that kind of got taken out of their hands, I would put it.
Yes.
Not even taken out of their hands. They threw it to Chicago. You can keep it. You have it.
And that's
kind of quality opponent right there, by the way. Same quality opponent.
Yes, but that's kind of been the Titans' downfall the rest of the year, is ever since that game, they've not.
Meltdowns, more meltdowns. Yeah.
But if I'm the Patriots, I got to look at the last 2 games and say what really hurt them. Well, Washington, they couldn't really stop Daniels throwing the football. He made a couple runs when he needed to, and you have Drake May that can do the same.
Yep.
They still ran the ball decently well. Now you're really looking at, okay, what did the Cardinals just do? Because it wasn't it wasn't like it was a close game. It was an ass kicking.
Here's a great thing I would do too. Like, you have played now this season. The Chicago Bears will have played at this point in the year. And credit, the bottom barrel of the NFL right now is like all over the place. There's so many 2-7 teams that's throwing the draft order off like crazy. But you have played after this week 3 opponents that are currently fighting for the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft. And I think what I would be doing is going back, and keep in mind, I'm doing this for comparison. Go back to the Jacksonville tape, where it is poor pass defenses, decent opportunities in the run game. It might not be the same game plan as New England, but what were you doing that gave you the confidence and ability to open up opportunities for your rookie quarterback and get the run game in gear? Now you're going to have liabilities because you don't have you have 3 tackles down. Okay. That is absurd. That is a ridiculous hurdle to deal with. But I still would go back to that tape to reference, how can we get ground game in the middle of the field again and focus more so on our healthy linemen in between the tackles? How can we focus on getting the ball out quickly and getting it to talents that just want it in their hands and want to do damage after the catch, like a DJ Moore, like a Keenan Allen,
right?
Stuff that we can get away from the home run ball. We can do that, but don't make it where let's get comfortable with just getting it to people, and less about trying to heave it down there for 15 to 20 yards every pass. Get back to those basics, because clearly something's broken there. And you can't continue doing the same thing if it is broken every single time.
Be careful what you wish for, though, because that's going to lead to a lot more key screens, because that's what he's going to look at.
That's part of the broken thing, though. That's part of the system that doesn't work right now, is the screens. I'm talking like quick slants, in routes, hitches and hooks, stuff like that. Hook routes, for God's sakes, receivers like DJ Moore, you can break a tackle and bust for another 10 yards.
Well, I think now you're getting into it where I think they are calling those, and Caleb is getting it out, but then they have called him, but he hasn't. Last game was struggling to hit those guys. There were times his rookiness has really shown the last 2 games. You kind of saw it with Washington, and you really saw the rookiness with Arizona. And I'm not putting the blame on him. I'm not putting people are putting a lot of blame on him, and I'm not doing that. I put blame on everybody: defense, offense line, him. It's all everybody. But his rookiness is starting to come out. And what I mean by his rookiness is indecisive decisions, moving around in the pocket, maybe when he doesn't need to yet. The scrambling sideline to sideline, like, you're wasting energy, you're wasting time. Might as well just throw the ball out. I know you're trying to make
the off-angle throws are they're fun when they land, but they feel disgustingly bad when they do not.
He had one against Arizona. The pocket broke. He went to the left. He was running. He tried to sidearm it to, I think it was Odunze, tried to sidearm it. All he had to do was stop running, plant and throw, and he would have completed it. Those type of things you get away with in college. And that's where his rookiness is kind of showing.
Yeah.
We saw the NFL type of player he can be, glimpses in these wins. But when things get tight like that, you're going to see the rookiness come out. And so, going back to what Nick Saban said during the offseason when he was talking with Eberflus, saying, when you put all this amount of pressure on a young quarterback like that in the NFL, it doesn't always bode well, because if things start to not go well, that's who they'll blame. Especially when you're drafted to. Now, if he was drafted to a team and we didn't have all these players, I don't know if we'd be batting an eye. We'd be like, he's learning, he's got to get through it. But the fact that you have
So much talent right now.
so much talent before the season, people had picked them to go to the Super Bowl, which I'm not one of them. I did not pick them to go to the Super Bowl or anything like that.
I want to meet the person that did, because I want to know what stuff you're enjoying in your recreational time that's getting you to that fantasy right now. That was not it. Playoff or bust has always been mine. It still is mine.
I just want them to be in a position. Like, I don't care if it comes down to the very last game. They got to win that game to get to the playoffs. If they're in that position, it was going to be a successful season compared to what they were the last couple years. But this is what happens. And then I don't think it helps when you got DJ Moore showing his frustration in his body language. It doesn't help when you have Stevenson acting the way he did and all this other amounts of media pressure start to come upon you.
Yeah.
That does not help a rookie, no matter how good of a leader he can be, no matter everything else, because then as a young quarterback, he puts a lot of pressure on himself. You could see that when something doesn't go right, he's very mad with himself. But then when you start seeing that, then you start to think, well, I'm failing. They're getting frustrated. Then I think then he starts to lock on to those guys. And maybe that's why he threw it to DJ Moore double coverage, because like he's frustrated. I got to get him the ball. So I'm going to look at him. And then Odunze was having such a good game. So I think he started to lock on to him, which takes away from other things he needs to be doing.
Well, I do wonder if, like you're talking, maybe that is a thing we're questioning, is that, like, we go back to Moore and talking about it towards the end of the Fields tenure, him going, I wouldn't let him go, and, they had pretty good chemistry. They locked in with each other, like you're saying. And I think most of the talk, if you're like at least any Bears centric media, is that Williams really likes Odunze. Like,
really does.
I think he really feels comfortable throwing to him now as his number one target. And right now, that I think maybe that is the only one he trusts. I mean, Keenan Allen dropped 2 passes this past week. I don't think that helps anything. He's actually had the dropsies this year kind of bad. I don't remember Keenan ever having this bad of a drop problem in his career, but it's kind of affected him this year in a few key moments, and it's starting to become a little noticeable. He's supposed to be the rock of the group as a veteran. Mm-hmm. And then Cole Kmet, while not the same level as DJ Moore, got paid pretty decent money to be that productive tight end. And part of that's scheming, part of that's maybe what Caleb's looking or seeing at the field and trusting, but that's supposed to be a reliable target. Tight ends are supposed to be like a rookie's best friend type of player. And that's not been that. Again, since the bye week, that's not been that. It's another guy who's just kind of like, he started being this one consistent piece, and all of a sudden it's like, why are we abandoning these concepts that were working? What did you do in 14 days that made you completely change the game on everyone again?
And we'll never know. But that was going to be my next point. I am so shocked that Cole Kmet didn't even get thrown to, didn't have a catch.
It still is baffling,
And that could be scheme, but that, like, if I'm,
I'll be watching for that against New England. Like, hey, you can't keep having 1 to no pass catches,
especially
in these contests.
Not him. No, if you're Caleb Williams, you have 2 safety nets. Obviously, Odunze and Moore are your take the roof off. Your 2 safety nets are Keenan Allen and Cole Kmet. Those are your 2 safety nets. And so when the catches are going down for Keenan Allen, when Cole Kmet doesn't have a catch, and I'm not saying he needs 15, but part of that is I saw on film, he missed Cole Kmet a couple times.
He did.
And it's one of those things where I never try to hit the progression, because we'll never know. We don't have the playbook. We don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I could tell you every air raid progression just because I studied it. In the NFL, they might come up with different plays every week and say, this is the progression, and they got to practice it. They're pros. They got to be able to do this. But there were times where he's literally staring at him and would rather take the deep shot. And you see, and that's the other thing. I saw a couple of times DJ Moore is doing his vertical, probably could have gotten the ball, but there was pressure, or Caleb didn't see him, and DJ Moore's body language goes, and he runs like this. He runs like one of my high school kids when they don't get the ball. Like, that's what he looked like against Cardinals. And I will give Odunze credit. He didn't do that. He was just kind of like smacking the hand, like, man. Like,
I think it's a little different. Well, I'm not to get too much into our headspace here, but like, I think for rookies, it's a little bit different, like, especially the ones that are, they're coming straight out and they do feel like they need to prove themselves. They're great. And it's that first few years, I'm going to mark that down too. You can add on, the extensive summer work where it seemed like it was Rome and Caleb doing a lot more of their workouts one-on-one than anyone else on that team, but again, it kills me because, like I said, before the bye, DJ Moore was getting some of his share. Keenan Allen was starting to get healthy and was getting some of his share. Cole Kmet was the most consistent numbers guy on the field. He was getting 40 to 50 yards a game and like 3 to 4, anywhere from 3 to 5 catches. And it's just dried up overnight. And it's not because they're covering the guy up. It's just for some reason, whether it is like you're saying, bad passes or scheme, they've bailed on him completely as an option, which is just, it's mind-boggling that they have. Because we talk about how every year this man has gotten better, and now you're doing this for 2 weeks in a row. Why? I don't understand, but I'm going to be watching that against New England. That just can't continue to happen. Again, it's a safety blanket. Tight ends are that. That's what they're there for most of the time.
I'm just going to be very curious of the play calling with your makeshift O-line that you're going to have up there. And I hope it's more run game oriented. I hope it's run game. I hope it's play action. I hope that you only tell Caleb Williams, he needs to go in there and tell Caleb Williams, we're going to do the Sean Payton method.
Yeah.
I am going to call 2 plays where you have to throw it deep. And if you throw it out of bounds, you throw it over their head 2 times a quarter. 2 times a quarter, I'm going to call a play like that.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of his freaking play calling needs to have short passes on somewhere and just an intermediate, not a vertical shot of 40 yards, something that's like 20 yards. Short game mixed in with a 20-yard route. That's all you need to do. And you need to tell Caleb Williams, if the pocket breaks down, you roll out and you have no lane to run, stop doing the side-to-side stuff because you're going to wear yourself out with your legs, because we started to see he was grabbing his hamstrings. Just throw the ball out of bounds or run out of bounds. One of the two. We need to stop this. Justin Fields can do that. I will say that about Justin Fields. If he tried to do that, he would make something out of nothing because he's faster than Caleb Williams. Right. He just is. You got to tell him to get rid of the ball. Stop taking the hits. Stop using that with your legs, because then if you don't throw the ball away and you're trying to make something out of nothing, you get tackled. Now it's 2nd and 18 or 19 or 3rd and 20 now. We're in a bad spot. So those are the things that I'm going to be looking at is, are you going to keep calling these deep shots every time? Because you need to limit him from just always looking at the deep shot. I know that's something he's hearing in the media. I know that's something. Got to get better at the deep shot. Well, you don't need to throw it every other play then, or don't look at every other play.
And I think what are we doing for a game plan? So, I felt like if we're going back to Arizona, I felt like the game plan was very unbalanced. They tried to go heavy pass first half and then tried to course correct second half, but by then it was way too late to force to be more run heavy and focus more on trying to find lanes for DeAndre Swift and even Roshan when they've used him. It just felt like they got way too early into a pass game that was not very efficient. And they just kind of got stuck in that headspace, almost like where we talk with the offensive coordinators, where it's like, I'm going to make this damn thing work. I know that's there. We're just going to keep force feeding it and something's going to work. And it's like, well, you've wasted about 2 1/3 quarter. So, you're at that point, you're already down by, I think that 15 at that point. So you kind of have to throw, right? You're in catch-up mode. That's what you got to do when you're in catch-up mode.
Right.
But no, they didn't do that. They switched back to try and be in balance, but you can't do that in that situation. That's for like first half of the game or when you're within a score or two. And I don't know what changed or why they decided to go pass heavy. And, if it works, it works. But like, when it seems like you are just doing it to say you're going to do it, that's when it's pretty obvious.
Well, I can tell you though, a lot of pressure going to be on the Bears this Sunday because of what has transpired the last 2 games, and there's going to be questions. Locker room, your relationship with the coach. Has Matt Eberflus lost the locker room? Can the defense show some life and energy? Because Eberflus has made his coaching career on that, being able to get them to play fast and tough and physical, have a short mind of if they do give up a big play on defense, they turn around, they usually figure it out. And the pressure is going to be on the offense of stop dipping your toe in the water to feel if it's warm or cold and just go. But I don't see that happening because it's been a theme all year of starting out slow.
They can't get out of their way to start out slow. It's so painful.
It's painful. So painful.
I fully expect, unless something changes, that they're going to probably get off to a slow start where they'll maybe this game so here's what's going to happen. It'll be like any Bears game where you'll flip the coin and we're going to win the toss, or sorry, Bears will win the toss. They'll defer. Team gets the ball. Chicago will get a stop first possession, but then the same deal the other side. Maybe they get like a first down or 2, and then it's just going to be that way for an entire quarter and some change. Hopefully your defense holds you in the game, which it should with this one. And then you find your feet in the second quarter and you just kind of play war of attrition until we get enough points to just stay ahead and keep ahead. Maybe New England gets a drive or 2. Any good defense always gives up at least 2 or 3 good drives a game. It's about not scoring touchdowns, which I don't trust that they're going to give it up. But, that being said, is this a game where you can get your momentum back? Use a lower class opponent that is clearly not supposed to be on your level on the one side of the ball where you're going to need it the most for the stretch run. It's offense, some sort of offense generated through the air that is consistent and not erratic. This is your time to do that. If you can't do that, well, best of luck to you, because you're going to have little error to do so moving on past this weekend.
Yep. The things I'll watch is the rookiness of Caleb Williams. I'm going to look at the leadership of DJ Moore and his body language. I'm going to look at the defense and their energy and effort. Realistically, though, the talent of the Bears should hopefully overtake the talent of the Patriots right now, because we should be able to overcome that. We do have a makeshift O-line up front, but they are pros. They have to be able to embrace this. And I'm not even going to be looking at Matt Eberflus. I'm going to be looking at Shane Waldron and what kind of has changed on offense. We cannot afford to take a step back. I don't care if you pull out the same play sheet that you used during those 4 wins. Like, I don't care. So, realistically, being 4-0 at home, which is great. New England struggling on the road, which is great. They, too, also have a rookie quarterback. That's not Jaden Daniels, who is playing like a third-year guy right now. Drake May is not bad, though. He has proven he can throw for 200-some yards a game and stuff like that. He can shift a little bit, but if you force him to run instead of him running on his own, you're put into a better spot. I just feel like the Bears have more quote-unquote talent than the Patriots.
Yes.
I just don't see it being a high-scoring game, though, the way the offense has progressed.
Even if they went, and I guess this is my ultimate test, is, you've had 2 games in a row where you've had OCs just completely change the game plan and say, oh, we're just going to attack the soft middle part of the front 4 and just run on them to open up other opportunities and whatnot. Is New England smart enough to do that? Well, not say smart enough, but are they capable of doing it consistently enough to where they can just say, well, you haven't stopped us yet? And I'll be fair. They aren't world beaters in the run game this year. It's their best trait, still is, but they ain't doing stuff that, like, say, Washington is. They don't have. I mean, I like Ramondre Stevenson, but I think he's not as versatile as, say, a James Conner, and I don't think they have as versatile a running back core as the Cardinals do. Comes down to the trenches. Does New England does New England have the better run game up the middle or on the front line to move these guys around? Do they run trap plays consistently? Have the Bears learned to attack those traps better if it is used? Because that was extensively used against Arizona to a very effective degree, was consistent traps and counters and motioning tackles motioning guards or getting the guard center combo moving around and moving some big boys to just shove out TJ Edwards or Tremaine Edmonds if they got into the middle.
Yep.
You know, these are things I'm watching because clearly teams are catching up. They're seeing this on tape. So you do have a wonderful pass defense, but if you let New England play this game where it's control the clock and we're just going to methodically just keep, being aggressive and manhandling the middle of the line and not letting pressures or, blitzes dictate the game in the pass offense, do you just continue to get battered by that until injuries hopefully switch back into your favor? Now you got Kyler Gordon back. I will say that's one person that I am glad to see back. Fantastic run stuffer as a nickel. They have been missing him dearly in that department in particular.
Sure.
So that is someone that I am thrilled because that's going to mitigate a lot of stuff that Arizona and Washington have been doing the last 2 weeks.
Yep.
So keep an eye on that. Montez Sweat's healthy. He's good at sealing the edge, has some great edge rush, has great edge speed besides rushing the quarterback. So that helps as well, But that's the thing, again, teams, you and I have talked about this and I keep saying this, that is the weakness of this defense. They've just been good at masking it because teams have to get away from it. Or for some reason, again, I go back to Tennessee week 1, they just choose to get away from it.
Right.
Which is even more baffling, but that's the weakness. Good teams do that. And I'm just going to watch for that. New England's not great. Should be a win. But it's in the back of my mind.
Yeah, I'm torn with my score prediction. I want to go like 24-14 or 21-14. I don't feel like we're going to score a lot of points, and I'll probably get proven wrong and we come out and score 35, which I would be extremely ecstatic for. But watching the last 2 games, it's very hard for me to sit here and go, we're going to score 35 points.
I think this game's going to be ugly. I think it's going to be one of those games that you, as a national audience, outside of those markets, you see that score and like you go like similar to last week, Tennessee and New England up until they went to overtime. Be like, thank God I didn't get that game on my TV.
Right. That's why
I'm going like I think neither team scores 20. I think it's going to be like something like 16-10 Chicago. I'm not confident they fix their mistakes. It's just there's not a good vibe right now with this. Maybe they do. Maybe I am just completely in the down zone on that, but I don't know. I don't trust it right now.
All right, you convinced me. I'm going to go 17-14.
Oh, you got convinced you to go below 20. Okay.
17-14. The only way I see a score is a field goal, obviously, and maybe we get a breakaway run like we did with Swift, and hopefully we get to a red zone and you'll find somebody. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope it becomes a 30-something to 17 win is what we're looking at, or like a 28-14 win. I'd be perfectly happy.
They need a Carolina game really damn bad.
Yes, they do.
And they need that again really bad.
And it's amazing.
I'm telling you.
It's amazing our moods. If we would have lost Arizona by 3 and it was let's say it was 29-26, I'd be sitting here telling you, okay, we're going to score 26 to 35 points today or on Sunday. But with the vibe and everything that's going on, I don't know. Like we should be. Isn't it amazing? Like 4 weeks ago, we were like, we're going to throttle the Patriots. Like just the way it was going. Like we were looking at it going like, we're going to throttle them.
I know. We were talking like, hey, great spot to be in going in the bye, 4-2. Just heal up, get back out there, keep sticking with the stuff that you are clearly moving towards and change. and you should be golden. You could possibly win 2 to 3 of those games that were in the next schedule. And now we're down 2, and we're just talking about, damn, we just need to get this freaking New England win so we can get something going into rivalry week, as I call it, up ahead.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it's going to be a bloodbath. Like, well, not a bloodbath, but it's going to be freaking tough after this week, and that's why this is a must win. They must win to get some type of mojo back heading into those games.
Mm-hmm.
They have to. If they don't win this game, the Bears could make history and fire a head coach during the season, because
that would be crazy. I just can't see it, but crazier things have happened, and there is always a worst case scenario on how a score could end up. Fireable Fence would be getting blown out and at your home turf in front of your ownership by arguably the worst team in the NFL right now.
Mm-hmm.
At least one of them that's in the contest for worst NFL team currently playing this year.
They don't even have to get blown out if they lose by a field goal.
If they lose they lose to New England either way. Like the discourse is going to be ranked up to 11 no matter what. I'm just talking the nuclear option is like losing by 20 to a team that has been abysmal, period.
If that happens,
I
don't see it, but if that happens, I think they will. If they lose by 3, they won't yet, but it's a must win. A win on Sunday can help put a Band-Aid or a bandage on what is bleeding right now.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if they come out and win in a tough physical way. If they are physical on offense, they are physical on defense. I don't care if it's an ugly game, as long as they're showing that and kind of proving a point of, hey, NFC North, we are going to play tough, you'd feel a little bit better. Just a little bit. But it's a must win. I don't want people to get that. I never thought I'd say that 4 weeks ago, that the Patriots is a must win game for the Bears. But they have to. Now, again, everything we just said, the biggest thing is the Bears play better at home. So that will help.
Home crowd advantage. That's going to help a ton. And, I do think, look, I think in the world of a vacuum, I'm not even discussing the last few weeks. This is a win. No questions asked. Just go get the W and keep moving on a season that you can be at this point above 500. Much more optimistic than the last 2 years under the Eberflus and Poles combo combined.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't live in a vacuum. We live under a Chicago microscope that's very prevalent, with a quarterback that was drafted number 1 overall, with a team that to most people had finally both paid and or sealed all the pieces needed to start building towards consistent playoff berths. No more one-off seasons and then being in the doldrums for freaking 4 to 6 years to then go back and get a one-off again.
Mm-hmm.
And this either, I think, ends up as another one of the losing consistent seasons Matt's going to have. Again, I think we're about to find that out in 2 weeks. We just can't look ahead. Or we do get a one-off 10-7 year. And then I'm going to question what happens next year is all.
Because there's now even reports that Ben Johnson would never coach the Bears next year.
Well, Adam Schefter made it very clear. I think it was on the Get Up. There was that quote. I think he was on there. I think it's a Get Up because they had freaking Greenberg on there. But he was saying that Ben Johnson is coming off as a guy that will be able to decide and choose his own place to play.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he wants a place he feels more comfortable and stable running in. Chicago doesn't seem that. And even Adam Schefter hinted at potential in division, candidates, which there's only one right now. The only team that is even being discussed in that spectrum is Chicago. Every other team in the North right now is a playoff team and has a team set to go make the playoff run of some kind. Just not Chicago is the thing. And funny, I say this still, Steve. Yesterday, before we had talked to get this show going, I was on X and, credit. Like I said, I'm fixing my feed too. You'll never guess what showed up. If you think about last show, what we discussed, someone's already discussing, could Cliff Kingsbury be available for Chicago? The consolation prize is on the radar. I'm telling you. Mark my words. I will not be shocked if Ben Johnson doesn't take this job and Cliff Kingsbury is the next guy they give a call because they couldn't get their main guy if the situation of Matt Eberflus becomes a firing. I'm telling you right now, they will swing to Cliff Kingsbury immediately and get him.
And I will not be mad about it.
Mm-hmm.
I will not be mad about it.
That will be the consolation prizes that they will put all their eggs into the Kingsbury basket if they were to lose the Johnson sweepstakes or not even be invited to the table for that. So I think that's going to be something to look for if we get to the end of the season and we do not see Matt as part of this organization anymore. Right away, I'm looking towards there.
Hey, as long as it's Ben Johnson or Cliff Kingsbury, that's fine.
Yeah.
But knowing our luck, it'll be somebody we never thought of.
Oh, no. It'll be some random dude. That could be that too. I could see that.
So we both have the Bears winning. Hopefully they get back on track. If they don't, Cliff Kingsbury will be coaching our team next year because he loves Caleb Williams. Coached him. So he'll be back to being a head coach soon. Or he'll go back to Taiwan or wherever he was for like 3 weeks.
Yeah, go on a trip, enjoy yourself a little bit more. You got all that Arizona money still, reeling it in while you're getting to do what you want. So why not, right?
Probably still getting paid by Texas Tech too. I don't even know.
Probably. I mean, man's made a good living of being a fired head coach.
I got in the wrong business. I should have been a fired Division I head coach.
The real fleece is making sure you do just enough to get to the chair and have enough millions guaranteed. And then, hey, positive, you get multiple years and you get an extension at some point. Maybe you win, maybe you become a legend, Other side of it, you still have a crazy ton of money you bank and you've flipped that for some stuff you can do to help your financials for retirement.
Nope, I chose to be a broke high school coach. That's the route I chose.
You chose the passion project.
Well, that's when I was young. Now I'm in the money business. I want money.
Oh, well,
I want money. When I was young, I did it for free for a while. I didn't care. And then I was getting paid. I was like, I'm rich.
You chose the money with benefits path?
I guess.
Is that how I had to analyze that description?
I didn't know it was going to be 50 cents an hour to coach. Jesus.
Oh, okay. Hey, now. Don't want to dissuade people from. Oh, wait, never mind. It's a competitive field. You do want to dissuade people.
All right. Well, hopefully the Bears win. We'll discuss when we can do a post game. It will come out eventually. Hopefully Steve doesn't screw up the film again. It was a little rough. Thanks everybody. We'll see you guys next.